Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me at the back? Yeah? Perfect. So I hope you had a wonderful evening last night. Thank you to the VOCO team for a lovely dinner. It's always nice to sit outside and have nice conversations. And thank you to the GBB team for a really nice, productive first day yesterday. The conversations I had, at least, were very inspiring. And for a first real estate development summit in Saudi Arabia, it's a great start. So in the next hour 15 or so, we'll focus on opportunities in hospitality. I'll introduce my panel a bit later on. But just to kick off the discussion, I'll speak a little bit about technology in hospitality. So technology is not the only component of innovation. It's a big part of it, but we'll discuss later on also what makes innovation in hospitality. But one thing that strikes me is when I began in this industry 36 years ago, 1986, hospitality was still seen as an innovative industry. So a typical hotel room, for example, was more modern in terms of technology than an average home. You know, the entertainment system was more modern, the telephone system, etc. And we've lost some of that edge in hospitality, to be honest. We're no longer seen as an innovative industry, and we'll discuss those reasons. What's interesting also is that the COVID pandemic has accelerated the discussion on technology, and what we see also investment into technology in hospitality. So it will be interesting also to explore that. But before we start, and in order to kick off the discussion, I'll speak a little bit about my perspective on the opportunities that technology bring to hospitality. So is technology really our friend, or something that we need to deal with? We don't have a choice, but is more a burden than anything else. Let's explore that. So just to start off, and I know that many of you are not hoteliers, and I like to keep things simple. So what is hospitality? If you were to describe hospitality in just one sentence, what makes hospitality? It's really two components. You need two things in hospitality. One is rent space temporarily. It's often a hotel room. It can be a restaurant seat, a treatment room in a spa, ballroom. It's rented out temporarily. But that's not enough. You also need services. When you combine services and the renting out of space temporarily, you have hospitality. So what are services? Services is delivering food, booking tickets by the concierge, or massage in the spa, etc. If you have only service without space, you have Deliveroo. It's not hospitality. If you have only space without the service, you have Airbnb, which is lodging. It's not hospitality. Services can be broken down into two different categories, and I'll come back to that a bit later. But the question of my short presentation is, how can technology best support hospitality in delivering that? So what technologies are relevant for hospitality? And most of them are not yet in use. This is really a future looking. So artificial intelligence, this is one area where we are actually quite advanced already in hospitality. So 20 years ago, the industry introduced revenue managers to improve its pricing, to have a more dynamic approach to pricing, to improve RevPARs. And in the old days, it was a person sitting in front of an Excel sheet, looking at the reservations and making decisions on how to best set the price for the day. Nowadays, it's really technology which drives that, artificial intelligence. So AI has a big role to play in hospitality. Data analytics, that's an area where we're quite far behind. So all big hotel companies have CRMs. They manage their customer data, but not sufficiently. If you think about a typical hotel guest, how many traces of data they leave in a hotel, whether it's the temperature setting in the room, you know, the choices they make in the restaurant, etc. So we do collect some of that data, but not enough. There is much more opportunities than what we're currently using. And we tend to focus on the current customer, right? Collecting data on the current customer. But in a typical hotel, on a typical night, about 75% of the customers staying in that hotel will be first-time customers, not repeat customers. So we need to use data analytics also to understand customers, guests that have not stayed with us yet, but that belong to a certain profile. Internet of Things. So these are devices that are connected. You know, everything can be connected nowadays. So we have connected thermostats in hotel rooms, which know when a room is checked in or not, and then adapts the temperature. But this is very basic. You know, we could have, for example, gym equipment connected, because if you're a hotel guest and you go to the gym regularly, every time you use, let's say, the treadmill, you have to reset it to your own preferences. You set the TV channel to your own preferences. You have to repeat that activity all the time. This can be automated. Voice is a very interesting technology for hospitality. We all know Siri and Alexa from Amazon, but that enables us, for example, to facilitate switching the lights in a hotel room. I always get confused with the light switches, and I've spent sometimes 20 minutes, you know, trying to switch off the light, because by switching off one, another one goes on, and then until I could sleep, it took quite some time. But also, it could eliminate the telephone, right? So there's a big part of decluttering a hotel room by using voice. Robots and bots, they really automate human behavior, and I'll come back to what they can automate. But you know, I think we've all seen robots that deliver luggage. That's something that can be done, maybe not in a luxury hotel, but more mid-market hotels. But also bots when it comes to chatting, automatic chatting, which give more consistency and can, in some instances, replace humans, but not all the time. NFC, so near-field communication, is very interesting for the back of the house. 10 years ago, some hotels were already managing their inventories and their linen management with little chips, so that physical counting was no longer necessary, and you know, invoicing through the supplier of linen. That's a very interesting field. Also to reduce thefts, right? So artwork. In this part of the world, it's not so much the case, but in other parts of the world, you know, pieces of art get stolen from hotels. So, you know, equipping a painting with a little chip eliminates that possibility. And then AR and VR, augmented reality and virtual reality, are also very interesting when it comes to sales, for example. You know, it's amazing how, if you're a hotel and you have your sales team going to a sales conference or a hospitality conference on the other end of the world, they can really transport the hotel to a prospective customer and showcase the hotel. So we're starting to make use of that, but we're nowhere close to the potential. 3 areas where technology can help. The first 2 are relatively boring, but they are tremendously helpful. It's increasing operational efficiencies. So for example, inventory management, right? With technology, we can drastically reduce our stocks, improve the cash flow situation of a hotel. That's very good for business, but it's easily copyable, right? Hotels can easily adopt this technology and then basically create a level playing field with other hotels. The second area is similar, improve decision making, and again, improve the P&L of a hotel. I mentioned revenue management. This is easy to implement and to copy. Really interesting is the third area. Enrich the customer and the associate experience. So I will come back to that. But technology can help us become better employers, make hospitality jobs more interesting by leaving what technology can do better than humans to technology and enrich job roles, but also improve the guest experience by doing more personalization, recognizing the customer better, etc. So, next slide, please. So, as I mentioned, we can break down services into categories. The first one is transactions. So, if you look at all the touch points of a typical guest journey, there are thousands of touch points. Every time the guest needs something, it's either a transaction or an experience. So transactions, they are repetitive, they are standardizable, and efficiency is the key, right? The guest does not want a lot of variance. The guest is not delighted if it works, but will be extremely upset if it doesn't work. An example is wake-up call. In most cases, the wake-up call is just a transaction. The guest wants to be woken up at the right time, efficiently, and that's it. Some hotels, they improve the wake-up call with the weather, etc. But in most cases, the wake-up call is a transaction, and that's something that can be left to technology. Experiences are not standardized. They're highly individual, and they really make a difference. They are a differentiating factor. And they do create delight, because this is where a hotel stands out. This is where moments are created that are remembered. And in this case, the guest accepts a lot of variability. It doesn't have to be the same all the time. Actually, the guest doesn't want it to be the same all the time. And for us hoteliers, the deliveries, expectations are not always clear because they're highly personalized. Now, it would be very easy if we could look at all the touch points and say, this is a transaction and this is an experience. But it's not that easy, unfortunately, because it's dependent on the guest expectations. It also depends on the purpose of travel. I'll give you an example, the arrival to the hotel. Imagine the same person, a business person, arriving to a hotel on a Tuesday night on a business trip after a long flight. The arrival or check-in, in this instance, is a transaction, because the guest wants just to go up to the room as quickly as possible. Doesn't want, especially if the guest has already been to that hotel, doesn't want explanations about the spa is there and opening hours and how was your trip, etc. It's just a transaction. I'm tired, I want to go to my bed, right? If I can check in online, I will check in online and just go to my room. If I can have the key delivered to my phone, so I don't have to talk to anyone, it's a transaction. Now imagine the very same guest on the weekend traveling with their family to a hotel they have not been before with their kids, arriving to the hotel. In that case, the arrival is an experience, because they do want explanations about the hotel, opening hours of the restaurant, what are the facilities, can we book any tickets for you, etc. So there, it's a very different thing. It's the same principle, arriving to the hotel, but very different expectations. And in that case, I will come back to that later, this is where humans are better than technology. There's also a difference between hotel categories when it comes to differentiating between experience and transactions. Imagine a mid-market 3-star hotel and a luxury hotel, right? The acceptance of technology, for example, in my experience, is much higher in mid-market hotels, budget hotels also, than in luxury hotels. So luxury hotels also make use of technology, but it's much more discreet. And especially luxury hotels have to offer both the online and the offline option. So the proposed solution, next slide please, is relatively simple. It's to leave transactions to technology and experiences to people, because people deliver experiences to people much better than technology. Regarding guest services and transactions, hotels should invest in technology that fulfills one of 4 objectives. One is to eliminate repetition. So if you can improve the guest experience by avoiding that a guest, every time they check into a hotel, they arrive to a hotel, have to reset the temperature of their room, have to set the language of the entertainment system. This is something that is already happening. But repetitive activities, if that can be eliminated, it's a worthwhile investment. Waiting times. Waiting time is another very common pain point in hospitality. Arrival, for example, is a clear one, right? If you arrive to a hotel on a weekday, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, if you check in the traditional way, you will probably wait. So anything that can reduce or eliminate waiting times is useful. Confusion. Sometimes guests are confused. They arrive to a hotel for the first time. Signage is not always optimal. If you have a lighting system or technology on their device that shows them where the room is, it improves the guest experience and especially does not create dissatisfaction. It will not delight them. It will delight them maybe the first time. And I like to say that technology wows you once. However, people wow you all the time. Think about the new iPhone. Whenever you get your new iPhone, you're very excited about the capabilities of that phone, but you get used to it very quickly. And then when it doesn't work, you get very upset, right? So it's the same with hotel technology. And then finally, decluttering. So think about a typical hotel room, how much clutter there is in there. Collateral, the remote control, the telephone, all these things that are also, challenging to clean. With technology, you can eliminate all of that. So we see the room service menu already on the TV. We see, we see also the hotel guide on the TV. But with an app, we can easily eliminate the remote control. With voice activation, we can eliminate the telephone. So that would make a room cleaner and more decluttered. Next slide, please. So the interesting thing is that it impacts hospitality on all fronts. So technology, for example, impacts how we design hotels. And in my view, many hotels, maybe not all, but many hotels in the future will not have a front desk anymore. Because if you think about it, a front desk, so the reception desk, is not made for the convenience of the guest, it's made for the convenience of the hotelier. Because we hoteliers, we need a collection point to service the guests. But with iPads and portable devices, a lobby can easily be designed as a big living room, where if you as a guest, because you're on a leisure trip and you want to do the full check-in experience, you sit down in the lobby, there is no desk, someone will join you, guest ambassador, sit down and proceed with the welcoming experience. So very different than standing behind a desk, also where there's a distance between the team member and the guest. Operations. So in many ways, we said that operations are affected, But again, portable device enable you or enable us not to have to bring the guest to the service, but the service to the guest. So imagine, for example, booking theater tickets. If you're a guest in a hotel, you have to go to the concierge desk, right? You're at the pool. In order to get this done, you'll have to go to the concierge. But if the pool attendant, who will no longer be a pool attendant in the future, but a guest ambassador, is equipped with the necessary technology, you're lying at the pool and you want to book theater tickets, the guest ambassador will be able to do that for you without you having to go to the concierge. And this is where technology enriches the team member experience, because jobs will be less specialized. They will be more general. There will not be a receptionist, a concierge, a pool attendant anymore. Our team members will be able to multitask because they will be equipped with the necessary technology. So recruitment and training will be affected by that, because we're already doing it today, but we'll do it much more in the future, which is hiring team members for personality rather than for skills. Because with the technology that is available, a lot of knowledge will come from that. And what will be important is to hire people who have the necessary personalities to work effectively in a hotel, so real hoteliers, because of less specialization. And yes, guest personalization. We will be much better equipped to personalize a guest experience, right? If again, with technology, we know what the guest ordered last time in the restaurant, where the preferences are, we can much better advise the guest in terms of what will delight them. So I think the opportunities are enormous. We're far away from where we could be. And the question with the panel will be, what can we do as an industry to reap those opportunities in the future, not only in terms of technology. It would be a mistake to only think about technology when it comes to being innovative, but all the other opportunities that we have.